Alrighty, today Mila and I are going to be talking about the different payment models for a home care business. So I'm going to be going over how it looks to accept private pay and long-term care insurance, which those go hand in hand, and then also Medicaid, Medicare, and then the other big insurance companies where you must get credentialized. So I thought I'd bring Mila back in the video, and she was asleep. So I woke her up to bring her in the video, but yeah, we'll jump in here. Here is a document I made on guide to payment models for your home care agency, and this is going to talk about how to, well, the different insurances, and then also how to accept the right insurances that you would like to structure for your home care business. So with Golden Age Companions, my own home care business, we have always done private pay and long-term care insurance. And when I first mentioned the video, those go hand in hand. What I mean by that is that you only need to basically fill out a little bit of paperwork like a W-9 and submit your licensing if that's required with your state and insurances with a long-term care company to become what's called a preferred provider. And that is how that long-term care insurance company will be able to contract with you to pay you for services that is provided through your agency for the mutual client, which is basically the client of the insurance company and now your client that you'll be providing care for. And so I do have different structures on how to do that. With my home care agency blueprint program, which is not a franchise, it is a coaching program coupled with a course, and we teach you how to basically accept any type of insurances you need and also get your business credentialized, which if you do decide to do that, we have all the resources. So I'll explain that down here later in the video. And by the way, if you do feel like you would like to start up your own home care business, there's a booking link below in the description that you can book a direct call with me and we can talk about that. All right, so basically the pro of having only private pay, what does that mean? Private pay essentially means that you are accepting either e-checks or credit cards or actual checks from your clients. They're essentially paying out of pocket for services that you are billing for. And long-term care, as this is a form of insurance, they essentially pay kind of like, direct. So like you don't have to put in special codes and all this stuff. You do need to submit care plans on the invoicing and everything like that, which we teach you how to do to be sure that you get reimbursed properly. And we also have a method on how to get reimbursed quicker where you're not, messing up your accounts receivable on collecting funds, because some long-term care companies could take up to 30 days to pay out. On, when I'm talking about here, higher profit margins, Medicaid and Medicare, their pay rates are often lower. I'm just going to give a generic example. It could be that they pay out $25 an hour, where you can charge a private pay client $35 to $38 an hour or even $40 an hour. And then that just also means that you could pay your caregivers better to retain higher quality caregivers as well. So, the profit margins with Medicaid and Medicare as spring of 2024, they're not very good. I know there's a lot of other home care agencies that are fine with that, but that's like if you're having like a high quantity of clients and that's what you're looking to do. So I'll go into more detail towards the end of the video about what I would do if you were to do Medicaid and Medicare. Flexibility, so you can offer a wider range of services Sometimes Medicaid and Medicare, for example, will restrict what type of services you can offer. And even actually the private insurance plans like long-term care, they might have like a restricted amount of services that you can provide where there's a certain scope, and that's what you would put on the invoices on what your caregivers are actually doing for the client. So then you could be tracking it and then they can be tracking it. And then there's less regulatory compliance that you're not going to have to be dealing with that you would be with bigger insurance companies or Medicare or Medicaid. And then, by the way, there's also billing codes. So I do know that the timeline to collect money from Medicaid and Medicare can be, I've heard, as long as 60 days. So you got to be prepared to be able to pay your caregivers on time and float that payroll. The cons for accepting private pay and long-term care is you have a limited client base, meaning there's only so many people that can afford services out of pocket. We've had clients pay close to $40,000 a month for like a husband and wife that both needed full-time care. We had like 7-8 caregivers pretty much around the clock throughout the week in there. So like there's limited people that can pay that much money for care. That they are out there, but that's just something to think about. Now, you certainly can have a home care business easily with 40, 50, 60 clients that are basically all private pay. Even if you had a client, like an agency, and you had clients, say 10 of them on the low end or even 8, and you were really running streamlined where you had limited softwares and your overhead was really low, you had like a low expense on your office space, you could still be very profitable. You have less employees too. You don't need to hire a bunch of office staff to pay out payroll, because just to have more clients doesn't always mean that you're more profitable. So those are things that, you know, I'm inspired to share with you. That's why I developed my program, because I've learned all kinds of things on how to be like super profitable, you know, through golden age companions over the past decade. All right, risk of non-payment, that is basically, yeah, there's essentially you don't get paid. I've had that. I've had a client that we provided care. It was a hospice case. They were on end of life, and over just like 5 weeks, they racked up a bill for $18,000, and then we didn't collect payment for another like 3 or 4 weeks, and then they finally paid on like a couple credit cards $18,000 at once, but then they had owed another like 15, 16, 17,000, and then something happened on the delay. I know, like, we just couldn't collect payment like right away, and at the end of the day, this gentleman passed away, and one of the other family members that was involved in the POA lived all the way across the other side of the country, and there's someone else, an ex-girlfriend or whatever, that was involved, and it got locked up. So they owed us, the estate got locked up, so they owed us $32,000, and that was an ouchie because we still have to pay the caregivers. So if we were on it and we had a credit card on file and every week we're billing, we could have, by say, instead of, you know, we invoice on day 8 essentially, right? Because like we invoice every Monday for the weeks prior. So for example, like by that Thursday, if we didn't have payment, then we could have just said, we're gonna need to, you know, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to pull out our caregivers, and they would have paid because they needed the care, you know. So that's just something that got out of hand, and that was just simple mismanagement. We had some other people in my office that just weren't keeping on like tabs on that, and I was assuming that everything was being tracked, and it wasn't. So these are all things I've learned over the years, and as you guys watch more of my videos and get to know me, I'm super transparent, and I'm an open book. So home care is a very good business to be in, and there's a lot to know about it. And there are also, you know, I always talk about the good, bad, and the ugly type of thing, because not everything is perfect, and not everything is, I say, blue glass and butterflies. You know, there's things that do show up, and there's ways to mitigate risk and whatnot. So if I had known, if there's a chip on my shoulder, or if I had a coach or whatnot back then, saying like, look, Scott, you really got to have an SOP, like something in place that basically like a training guide, maybe like a playbook for your office staff. If you're going to have them handling the invoicing, there needs to be a rule where after about 5 days of non-payment, they're on your clients, something like that. We are just scaling and growing so fast. I just wasn't able to keep up on everything at once. So yeah, that's that. And then this is now part 2. So this is accepting Medicaid, Medicare, and other insurances. When I mentioned earlier in the video about I'm going to go into why or how I would accept Medicaid or Medicare, if you're going to get credentialized, you got to have your NPI number. So I talk about that down here. You need to have your NPI number. And by the way, with Home Care Agency Blueprint, we are able to get your NPI number. We can get you credentialized. It's good for 5 years. So if you do book a call and would like to talk to me about that, I can talk about how we can get, if you do want to set up the insurances, we can get you essentially credentialized with, like, for example, in California, there's 18 different insurances. So, but yeah, you got to have your NPI number, and you still have to have like all your licensing and everything in place to submit, and your EIN and all that to make sure that they can process it. And it takes about 2 to 4 months to get like fully credentialized. But if you do decide to do the insurance route, you could do private pay and insurance. It's actually a really great strategy because you're diversifying your portfolio of who you can accept. And this is really kind of where I'm seeing things go, actually. Like I do see that there's so many other home care agencies that are accepting all types of insurances now. Now, when I said Medicaid and Medicare don't pay that much, that doesn't mean that the other insurances also don't pay that much. They actually are in line with the normal rates. So you could get your NPI number, automatically just get the Medicaid and Medicare together. That's like an auto thing. And then the other insurances, depending on your state, you can, like California has 18. Now there's some other states, like say Ohio, they might have 7 or 8 or even maybe as low as 5 that are ideal to get credentialized with. So it'll be less cost. And then you'll be able to accept those insurances, and those, you know, often can pay $35, $37 an hour. But keep in mind, there is a little more bookkeeping and tracking with that. So that's just something to think about. Now, the obvious pros are expanding client base. You can obviously get more clients. You have, you know, besides just accepting private pay, if someone says, do you accept insurances? It's yes, we do. And the other benefit there is when you go to a hospital or a skilled nursing facility and you're talking to the discharge planner to get clients, by saying that you accept insurances, there's a very good possibility that you're going to be getting that referral over that agency that does not accept insurances. So that's along with the competitive advantage. And then the cons. So the complex credentialing process, we help you with that. So that's not really a cons. We will help you with all of that, getting that complete. Lower reimbursement rate, that's true. That is a con. Not all the insurances pay as high as a private pay would do. There are some that do though. So, but it's not as much. And then this is a huge one, increased administrative burden. Now, if you come from the medical billing world, or you know, like the coding world, or you have worked in healthcare administration and you already know how this works, then this could be a really good thing for your home care agency. If you're not familiar with it or not great at all the paperwork, just be, you know, mindful of that there's just more things to process, and you got to be in line with what the insurance companies want. And that comes along the lines with the regulatory compliance. So, you know, there will be audits and things like that. They want to make sure that things are being done properly, and the payout is in line with what you have provided for your service. So yeah, that's essentially everything that I wanted to go over today. And I will add this, you know, kind of cheat sheet in the description below in this video. And I appreciate you guys coming to this video. Alrighty, so that is the overview on how to accept insurances, or how to decide on if you do want to accept insurances or take the private pay and long-term care route for your home care agency on the billing and revenue side. So thanks for coming here today, and if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And Mila is sleeping actually on my desk, so I'm not gonna wake her up. But I'll be bringing her in more of the videos. So yeah, thanks again. And if you are interested in getting a consultation with me on starting up your own home care agency, please book a call with me in the Calendly link below in the description. And we do have limited spots, so we cannot accept everybody, so just please be mindful of that. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you. We have been like super busy, so I will speak with you and, at least if nothing else, offer you a ton of resources. And that is my goal to that's essentially why I'm creating all these YouTube videos. So yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks so much.